White House National Security Council spokesperson, meanwhile, John Kirby, pushing back on the criticism of the administration's handling of China and the threat from communist China. Watch.
People are criticizing us for not doing enough, and then I hear from others, we're doing too much, or we're bowing down to China, that we're trying too hard. And it boggles my mind that anybody anywhere would think, A, that we're not engaging in diplomacy, and B, that diplomacy and the use of it and the attempt at dialogue and diplomacy is somehow weakness.
Joining me right now is Texas Congressman, Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Mike McCaul. Mr. Chairman, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria.
Well, you just heard John Kirby talk about diplomacy. You know, he sort of warped the whole question from why are you soft on China to why would anyone question if we're doing diplomacy? I don't think that was the question, but your assessment of the administration's response to the provocations coming out of communist China.
You know, it's interesting. As you know, I was in Taiwan surrounded by 10 battleships and an aircraft carrier, 70 fighter jets, got sanctioned by the Chinese Communist Party. They're very aggressive. They mean to do harm, in my judgment. What we're seeing right now from the administration is a charm offensive. You know, CIA Director Burns is in China right now. Secretary Blinken, I talked to him the other day. He's on his way to China. And I think what they're trying to do is open up diplomatic channels, but I would caution them not to get friendly with China because their intent is very clear. When you listen to Xi Jinping, he'll tell you exactly what he wants to achieve, and that is a reunification of Taiwan with China and the broader Pacific island chain. So I would just say caution would be my advice.
Yeah, but Congressman, I guess we've talked before about this administration's policies and how it has invited aggression. And I'm going to put the graphic up that you and I have walked through before in terms of Biden's foreign policy. When he first got to the White House, the first thing he does is cancel the China initiative. And then in May of 21, he waived sanctions on the Putin pipeline, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline into Europe. I don't know why he would do that. Of course, the Afghanistan withdrawal also was botched, and you said also invited aggression. And here we are talking about Xi Jinping meeting with Putin and planning to go into Taiwan. And, of course, we are also watching devastation in Ukraine. So talk to us about the administration's response to these threats and why some of these moves were missteps.
I would not say not just missteps, but a self-inflicted wound. I think the way that they carried out Afghanistan was shameful. We finally got access to the dissent cable after I threatened the secretary with contempt of Congress. We got access to that. But the fact is, when Nord Stream 2 was allowed to go forward, that's Putin's pipeline into Europe, and then Afghanistan fell, that's when we saw, you know, the adage, weakness invites aggression, right? You project strength, you get peace. Weakness, you get aggression and war. And we're getting that. After Afghanistan, we did see the Russian Federation coming down towards Ukraine for the invasion that's taking place right now. And we also saw Chairman Xi meeting with Putin at the Beijing Olympics, forming the unlimited partnership, the unholy alliance between those two. And Iran's involved in this, throwing weapons into Ukraine, and North Korea with artillery. And Chairman Xi now is threatening the Pacific islands that my father's generation liberated in World War II. You know, yesterday was June 6th, Normandy D-Day. My dad was part of Operation Overlord. And now we have the largest invasion in Europe since World War II and the biggest threat to the Pacific that the greatest generation liberated. This is my concern.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're seeing this action. The counteroffensive, by the way, Maria, is taking place right now in Ukraine. And I hope they are successful because there's so much writing on this.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the counteroffensive. I'm going to get to that in a moment, but I want to get your take on the money end of this because we still have the fact that Congress and the executive branch are allowing scores of millions of average American investors to basically fund the PLA, fund the CCP with their money to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, with all of this money in the thrift fund, in ETFs. Now we understand yesterday's news, the U.S. venture capital firm Sequoia is planning to split into 3 independent firms by March 2024, separating the China and the U.S. business. Do you buy this? In a note to investors, Sequoia did not directly address the rising tensions between China and the U.S., but said that it has become increasingly complex to run a decentralized global investment business. It's worth noting that the SEC also cracked down on crypto, suing both Binance and Coinbase yesterday. Your thoughts on the money end of this, and is the administration allowing U.S. investors to buy up all these Chinese companies? Do they not understand, in effect, they're allowing investors to fund the expansion of our number one adversary?
Yeah, we are allowing U.S. capital, outward-bound capital, to finance the PLA and the Chinese military. The hypersonic weapon that circled the globe with precision and landed, that can carry a nuclear payload, was built on the backbone of American technology. The spy balloon had American parts in it. The fact is, on the export control side, we are exporting parts that go into Huawei, go into SMIC, their semiconductor companies. They go into their military advanced weapon systems. This has to stop. To your point, the outward-bound capital flows. It's a little more difficult challenge. However, Sequoia is a poster child for a company that can basically fund PLA operations. The CEO of Sequoia sits on the board of ByteDance, which is the parent company of TikTok. Sequoia made a lot of money on TikTok. Sequoia is now trying to distance themselves and legally distance themselves from their office in India and China from the United States. But the fact is, it's one company. You're going to see, I think, an executive order come out of this administration, I hope, that will limit the ability to basically advance in certain sectors of their economy, like semiconductors, like possibly, getting into quantum computing. But we have a bill in Congress to dry up this funding, to stop American investment in China that goes into the backbone of their military, that, Maria, quite frankly, with the tension in Taiwan, could one day be pointed at the United States of America. And to me, that's unacceptable.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, you struck a deal with the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, earlier this week, allowing Foreign Affairs Committee members to gain access to the Afghanistan withdrawal dissent cables. Congressman Darrell Issa told Fox News Digital this is classified because it's embarrassing. There's absolutely no reason the American people should not see it and will not rest until they do. Even Florida Congressman Michael Waltz tweeted, the American people, especially the 13 Gold Star families, should be able to read this. What have you learned, Chairman?
Well, I fought very hard with the contempt threat to get these documents available to every member of the committee, not just myself and the ranking member, because I want them to see the documents. Look, this cable dissent is extraordinarily valuable. It's 23 employees in the Kabul embassy, a cry for help, a plea for help, a warning about what was going to happen. Those 23 employees of the embassy, in my judgment, are heroes, warning the administration, dissenting to their policy, that this is going to happen fast. They needed to be prepared. They need to get SIV applicants like Afghan partners, interpreters who fought with our military out of there, to get American citizens and embassy employees out. And the fact is, we didn't have a plan. And there was no plan. You plan to fail. And the fact is, the Taliban was put in charge. It was chaotic. 13 servicemen and women died. I'm glad we got access to this. But you know what? The classification level of that cable is confidential. That's the lowest classification you can possibly put on a document. I worry the administration classifies documents so that the American people can never see the truth. And I'm going to continue to fight to make sure the American people see this, because they deserve the truth. The veterans deserve the truth.
Yeah.
And the Gold Star families and mothers deserve the truth.
Of course they do. And thank you for fighting for that. We honor our Gold Star families. And by the way, thanks to your father for what he did during World War II. My uncle Carmine landed on Bloody Omaha. And I'm so proud of him, what he did, too, during World War II. But, you know, it's an eerie reminder of the whims of these dictators. I want to get your take on the counteroffensive right now. Emergency evacuations are underway in Ukraine and the Kherson region after an attack on that major dam, which Kyiv is blaming on Russia. Ukrainian forces also picked up their counterattacks. I spoke with Fox News senior strategic analyst General Jack Keane yesterday about this. Here's what he said. Watch.
The counteroffensive in Ukraine has begun. The Institute for the Study of War confirmed that. What the Ukrainians are trying to do is isolate Crimea by breaking the main supply routes from Russia to Crimea and get to the Sea of Azov and the Black Sea. This will take weeks to unfold, but this long-anticipated counteroffensive has finally started.
Mr. Chairman, what can you tell us about this counteroffensive? Americans want to know that all of their taxpayer money that has gone to Ukraine will, in fact, be successful. What do you know?
Well, that's right. This is a very important point in history. If they are successful, I think the will of the American people will follow. If they're not, I think it evaporates. I'm very hopeful. I've been briefed by, the top generals in Ukraine about this offensive. It is taking place right now. What they want to do is cut the land bridge between the Donbass and Crimea off, so they cut the supply chain, supply lines that go to Crimea and isolate it. This administration, though, will not get them one weapon to hit Crimea. But in spite of that, the UK Secretary of Defense I talked to is giving the longer-range artillery weapons, as is France. The F-16s were finally approved, but it takes 3 to 6 months to train the pilots. That's unfortunate. We didn't do that sooner. They also need cluster munition bombs that the Russians are using in Ukraine right now. However, they are tough, and they're seasoned, war-battled people. And I pray for them for success against these aggressors who are now, they blew up a dam to basically disrupt a nuclear power plant, to dislocate thousands of people. And this is all going to play out for the American people in the world in the next days. And it's going to be intense, I can tell you that.
Unbelievable pictures and unbelievable developments that we are watching firsthand here. Congressman, thanks very much for all of your leadership on all of this. Thank you, sir.